Welcome to OOD Works, the podcast, a show about unique individuals and the services provided by Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the state agency that helps individuals with disabilities find a job and be more independent. Here's your host, Kim Jump.
Well, on today's episode of OOD Works, the podcast, I'm excited to introduce you to Alyssa Carswell. She is a classroom behavior therapist of Avon Lake. So welcome to the podcast, Alyssa.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. So you actually grew up in Avon Lake.
Yes. I did kindergarten through 8th grade and then transferred to St. Augustine Academy, all-girls Catholic school in Lakewood.
When you were a student, you received some special education services?
Yes. Through my elementary school in Avon Lake, my mom brought in attention to some reading difficulties and had the school psychologist do their evaluations for potential learning disabilities. And at the time, I didn't meet their qualifications. I then sought out a psychiatrist and had another evaluation in 5th grade and still didn't meet any the criteria for special education services. It wasn't until high school at the end of my freshman year that I did qualify for special ed due to a learning disability. And being that it was a Catholic school, the Lakewood Public School provided the services at St. Augustine.
Okay. And so did you know before you graduated what you wanted to do after high school?
I originally thought I would be a marine biologist, and that was my first major in college. And after not doing well in chemistry and realizing that I would have to take so much chemistry to be for a biology degree, I switched to special education.
Ah, okay. And where did you go to college?
I started at the College of Mount St. Joseph. Now it's the University of Mount St. Joseph, and I went there for 2 years. And then my mother moved from Avon Lake to Whidbey Island, Washington. So I transferred to Gonzaga University in Spokane.
Oh, wow. That was a big change for you.
But I stuck to the small liberal arts Catholic college that offered special education services for LD and ADHD students. So
even though you changed states, you felt like it was still a good fit and you were able to just kind of pick up where you left off?
Yeah, I was changing majors and would have a more successful academic experience with, leaving the sciences and going into teaching.
Yeah. What was the remainder of the college years like for you?
My grades were pretty standard and successful. I had some difficulty when it came to my regular ed student teaching, applying the foundations of teaching, lecturing, and the clerical work and the documentation. That unification that a teacher does was in the group setting was a hard transition that didn't necessarily come natural, and I needed somebody to tell me how to do it.
Did those difficulties come up during student teaching?
Yes.
Gotcha. Were there any supports available to you that you knew of being available at that point in time?
At that time, I didn't realize that I could fix the issue, and so I ended up just ending teaching regular ed student teaching in the middle, and ended up only doing my special ed student teaching in a resource classroom with minimal students, special ed students. Not a whole lot of lesson planning, and where I'm reliving their IEPs and the subjects that they get assistance in. Okay,
gotcha. I'm guessing there was maybe a connection you felt with the students?
Yes. Growing up in the 80s and being a female that did not have a typical hyperactivity, people related to somebody with learning disabilities, and I went undiagnosed until my sophomore year in high school.
Yeah.
So my issues were not they weren't communicated to the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my mother knew something was wrong, but had no idea what it was, and much less how to what kind of assistance I might need and would benefit from. When I look at my students with special needs in my classrooms and at my job right now, and difficulties with communication,
Mm-hmm.
what they need, what they want, how to best help them is really hard due to their diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I can relate to that, not having that inability to communicate what's going on in your head, what you need, and how to solve that problem.
Right. That's so important, especially for, a student to feel understood by their teacher.
Yes. Yeah. After I graduated college, I got a job with a group home nonprofit organization in Avon. It's called Our Lady of the Wayside. It's
Mm-hmm.
been around in the industry, I think, since the late 60s, early 70s. So I managed a group home for adults with developmental disabilities.
And how long were you there?
3 years.
Was that a good kind of first experience?
Yes, figuring out the services that are offered to adults past high school graduation. Yeah, I learned about workshops that
Mm-hmm.
adults do and other respite care.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were able to get just more familiar with the world of disabilities.
Yeah.
Great.
I moved to Chicago and became a flight
Oh,
attendant
wow.
for United Airlines.
Oh, total kind of shift for a while.
Yes.
You had an interest in travel or what
Yeah,
took you
yes.
there?
I had been traveling and flying for throughout my childhood. And yeah, I knew that there wasn't much growth within my job at Our Lady of the Wayside. And I knew my next step would have to be like graduate school. And I doubted myself that I would be successful in a master's program. So I went, okay, well, I want to improve my job and grow and learn something, but I don't think graduate school is going to be a good hit. So that seemed like it would be a good fit, that I could be successful. I could learn the skills as a flight attendant and be adventurous and travel.
Yeah. To me, that seems like such an adventurous job. Like you would just be in so many different places and exposed to so many different kinds of people.
My passport is loaded with stamps, and I've met so many people all over the world and been
Yeah.
exposed to so much culture. People are very jealous of that experience.
Yeah, I am. That sounds fabulous, especially as a younger lady, with nothing
Yes.
holding you back.
Yeah. I mean, it's much harder the older you get. Your health gets lessens, your body gets a little sore. It's so, I mean, you're on your feet 12 hours. You get up at different times every week, and it gets a little hard on your body. And yeah, to do it in your like late 50s, early 60s, it was definitely harder on my fellow coworkers.
Oh, yeah, I bet. So is that what inspired your interest in Thailand?
The benefits of being a flight attendant, I had travel passes for my family. So I took my mom to Thailand for vacation. Yeah, we spent 2 weeks in Koh Samui, and then we went up to Chiang Mai. I come home, and United Airlines and Continental Airlines were in the middle of completing their corporate merger. In an effort to cut their staff, I was put on a corporate furlough for 6 months.
Gotcha. And about what year was this?
2014.
At that point, you had the travel bug for sure, because you had
Yeah.
experienced a lot of the world. So you felt like a next good step for you would involve maybe working abroad?
Staying in this resort, it was like all inclusive, and they were full of English and American and Australian citizens teaching yoga. teaching kayak rentals, and I went, wait a minute, maybe I can do this because I don't have a job in like 6 weeks. Yeah, and I went, so I like Googled, all right, teaching, because I have a teaching degree, and I went, wow, Thailand loves English-speaking teachers. It's an established career for foreigners that to get the visas, to get the contracts, the current salary.
Now, did you learn to speak Thai before you went?
No, my Thai is pretty much preschool Thai.
So the language learning was just one direction. You teaching the English, not you learning Thai.
Yeah. all my fellow staff and Thai teachers, they all want to improve their English. So it was, nobody wants to teach me Thai. They want me to teach them English.
Yeah, that was your job there, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
While you were in Thailand, I'm very sorry. You were involved in a serious accident. Can you tell us about that?
What I remember, not much. I had just returned to Thailand from a visit to the U.S. to visit my family, the annual October Thai school holiday. And I went to work on the following Monday after I flew back. After school, I had to go to immigration to have my visas stamped that I had returned, and to do my visa check-ins with immigration. And I got hit by a car while on my scooter. But I have no memory of the accident. My memory of that day went to about 8:30 in the morning. I woke up at the hospital like 10, 11 days later.
Wow. That must have been very alarming once you did wake up.
Yes. I recognized the hospital because that's where I was when I broke my ankle 2 years earlier. But I had no idea why I was there.
How bad were the injuries?
I suffered a temporal brain bleed.
For those that aren't familiar with brain bleeds, how does that impact you?
A traumatic brain injury recovery lasts somewhere between 18 months and 2 years, typically. You see the most results in that first year, and then you continue to see a progressive, but it's not as much, but that will continue for another year and a half. Most people experience post-traumatic headache. That's continual. It's pretty daily. I've received cognitive therapy. I've seen a speech pathologist, and trying to improve my working memory and my attention and divided attention. I also dealt with a verbal speech issue. They call it aphasia, where I'm trying to think of that word and it's in my head. It just can't, my tongue can't spit it out. There is a big issue of chronic fatigue, brain fog. Yeah, I spent the last 2 years requiring a nap between like 2 and 3 o'clock. Especially if I went to the gym and swam or took a yoga class or went to speech therapy, pretty much toast my brain and have to come home and sleep.
How long did you stay in Thailand while you were recovering?
A month.
And were you in the hospital that entire time?
I was in the hospital 2 weeks.
Did you have family who were able to come support you before you headed home?
Yes, my both my parents flew to Thailand.
Yeah.
And I flew back with my mom and moved in with her.
Yeah, because you knew you had a long road of recovery ahead of you.
The neurologist in Thailand did not communicate to me or my parents the severity of this injury and the length. It wasn't until I came back to Cleveland and ended up at the emergency room at the Cleveland Clinic and found out the severity.
Oh, so you had no idea.
They said I had the brain bleed, but they didn't say that how severe a brain bleed is and how long it lasts to recover from it. And and all the ramifications.
Once you were getting into the different kinds of therapies to get yourself kind of back on track, I mean, what was that like for you? Was it hard? Was it, frustrating? Was it up and down?
Pretty much assumed that my recovery would not be what I needed to be to resume my adult independent lifestyle. I was convinced that no, I probably couldn't hold down a job in teaching, working with children, that I was only going to be capable of doing retail or minimum wage. My education and my experience would not be enough.
Was that frustrating for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I figured that I most likely should probably retire and go on disability, that I'm most likely going to have to live with my mom, be unable to financially support myself.
Yeah, I bet especially in the early days of your recovery journey, you probably wasn't quite apparent what your new normal would be.
Yes, that there was any hope of improvement. It's slow going.
Were there individuals who were key to giving you hope and to motivating you during that hard time?
Yeah, I would say my psychologist.
Good for you to be getting the mental health support during this time.
Being at the clinic as a patient, there's a lot of communication about all the separate areas of service, and I was end up at the neurological restoration trying to deal with my chronic headaches, and my neurologist made that referral and said, "You know what, you'd probably do well going next door to Dr. Rush and dealing with this as a chronic pain management as well as," and she instilled that sense of patience that, yes, things are really rough right now, but there's a year and a half, it's really too early to give up, that there's still potential.
Yeah. That's awesome that she was able to help you see that.
Yeah, you definitely have to be patient and not have these huge expectations, because your brain is on a slow pace. There is room for improvement.
Were there other kinds of therapies that you found beneficial in kind of getting back on track?
Well, yeah, I had some broken bones, so I did physical therapy and chiropractic therapy as well.
Was there a tipping point for you where you decided that maybe you could return to the workforce?
Probably November of last year. Dr. Rush was the one who referred me to OOD, because I was bored and antsy, and I wanted to return to my independent lifestyle, but not overdo it and create other problems. So she had recommended that start doing something like part-time. She gave me the website for OOD, and I did the online evaluation.
Yeah, through oodworks.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so then you got connected with your counselor, Ariel Bowers?
Yes.
What was meeting with her for the first time like?
It was very easy. I mean, she explained the services and what I could expect to accomplish, and all the elements of the job training, the resume writing, the evaluation of aptitude and potential skills within the workforce that would kind of indicate the types of jobs I would be good at applying to.
And so I'm sure it came up that you had a background in teaching, and did you know that you wanted to work with young people again?
Yes.
So that was your goal early on?
Yes.
Then you saw Step by Step to be your provider?
Yes.
Okay, and I understand you worked with Julie from Step by Step.
Yes.
And what kinds of things did you do together?
We wrote my resume, and we collaborated on job listings about things that would be beneficial to apply for that would, based on their job requirements and how many hours, if it was part-time, full-time, and how strenuous a job would be, that would probably would be too much.
So it sounds like folks were pretty good about listening to you express like what your needs and your concerns with a position. Yeah.
Yes.
Did it take a while to land the position with the Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital for Rehab, the Center of Autism?
Due to COVID-19, yes, has put a big wrench.
For all of us. Yes. So you were looking for a job when the pandemic began.
Yes. I did the vocational evaluation in February and had started applying for positions at the YMCA. They had a need for summer camp and after school daycare site coordinators, and had interviewed with them successfully. They were really good interviews, and then COVID hit. The Cleveland Clinic, their application process was pretty long. Video interviews, Zoom interviews, and trying to get a hold of all my references. That, due to COVID, took a while.
Yeah.
The learner school within the Center for Autism is where I teach. That had to close down for the month of May and June. So they didn't know when the job would start.
Wow. So you were really kind of just in a holding pattern. So you knew you had landed the position at Cleveland Clinic's Children's Hospital for Rehabilitation Center of Autism. They had extended the offer to you, but then you were just in limbo?
They were waiting on my references that they needed 2 that were from a manager or my boss ahead of me. And then I needed like 4 additional ones, and they were waiting on 1 from a flight attendant at United. And despite calling teachers from Thailand who now are in England to provide that reference, it just kind of sat in limbo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That really kind of puts a kink in it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It took 2 months to get hired.
Yeah. Long process. Is your position as a classroom behavior therapist full-time, part-time?
It is full-time. I'm lucky that currently the class size is small. I only work till 3:30,
Nice.
4 days a week. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Does that feel like a good balance for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's 3 kids in the classroom, so my exposure to potential COVID is minimal. There's 3 other staff members in the classroom, so we're taking a lot of precautions to prevent us from exposing the students and the students exposing us and carrying that to our families. They're there from 9 to 3, so we're not inundated with like constant. It's a nice, easy pace. I work one-on-one with a student, so I'm not instructing 25 children at one time. It's all individual.
And what's the age range there at the center?
From ages 2 to 22. I'm in the secondary classroom, so our students in that room are all 13 to 22.
Could you give us an example of kind of what a day is like and the kinds of things that you're able to work with the students on one-on-one?
Our students at this age range are working on improving their independence. They're working on personal hygiene, domestic care, how to possibly hang clothes, sweep the floor. They do some vocational work as well that to prepare them for a job in the future after they leave school. These students volunteer in like a medical facility to count medical supplies and organize. So we do a lot of counting and sorting activities. They do a lot of speech goals and communication goals because most of my students are nonverbal. There's a big staff community. We have physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language, and applied behavior analysis.
All right there on site?
Yes.
And are the students able to receive all of those services right now?
Yes. Speech and language therapy is virtual. Some of the classroom students that I have yet to meet aren't coming to school due to other health concerns. They're getting their education and therapies virtual as well.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the position? Like you're where you're supposed to be?
There is a lot of opportunity that I could grow within my position. There's like 4 levels to move up to over 5 years. I could go to grad school and become an ABA therapist and transition from my current position and continue to work there. Yeah, I could work at the Learner School for the next 15 years in various positions.
That's awesome. I just think it's so cool how, there's a relatability. I mean, you may not have autism, but I just think there's probably like some common ground that you have with the students that you work with.
Yeah, I mean, it gets kind of difficult to identify yourself with a disability and still see that it's not a sentence or like a death sentence. There is potential. There is ways around your difficulties. When you live in a traditional society, that's kind of hard for people to understand. And so it's really even hard to accept that, wait a minute, there is potential for success. You just have to go down a different path.
So what would your advice be to someone who's considering OOD services?
Be open to a new career. That your old one may not be a possibility, but there is something that you can relate to that would still be positive to you and that you would identify with, that would be meaningful. You don't have to define yourself by your title or by your job. That you can redefine yourself with something, with a different career that you can be successful at.
Yeah, you can redefine yourself. I like that. Do you feel like that's what you've done, Alyssa? Do you feel like you've redefined yourself?
It's work in process. That's my goal, is that, yes, I had hoped that I could come back and be a public school special ed teacher. Is that would be a very difficult reality. I might be able to do it, but it would probably kill me in the process. So I'd have to find something similar that suits my skills, that I can be successful at. That's probably, yes, it's going to be similar. I'm working with children. The specifics of the job are a little different, and that I can accommodate my difficulties.
Right. Well, Alyssa, I wish you continued success with the new position there in the classroom and doing the good work that you're doing with your students with autism. I wish you the best as you continue in your own healing journey. Thank you again for being our guest today.
Well, I thank you and Ariel and Julie for the time and the energy and the commitment to me and my journey. Very, very grateful.
A transcript of today's episode is available at ood.ohio.gov/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We're on social media at Ohio OOD. Do you have a disability? Do you want a job? We can help. oodworks.com.